What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Brandon Velasquez asks if we could ever see Kyber crystals used for things other than weapons.
That was one of the things I really enjoyed seeing in Star Wars Visions, was like the dark armor in the twins, or Toby, T-O-B-1, a droid that has a Kyber crystal inside of him. And I feel like we should see more of that. The only other example I could think of was Project Celestial Power, which is what Galen Erso was tricked into working on. Like, it turned out to be the Death Star super laser, so it is still a weapon, but Galen's research was into using Kyber crystals for a renewable energy source.
So there's nothing other than that?
Not off the top of my head. There probably is,
Yeah.
but...
I mean, I feel like Dark Side Cave, weird mirror thing in Last Jedi, like, there might be Kyber crystals around there.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, harnessing them for technology.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could make Kyber mirrors, I guess.
Yeah.
Then they give you spooky visions.
Yeah. I think right now they're just, like, potential attractions. Like, natural forming things that you can go and be like, ooh, cool.
Yeah, but there should be more research. I'm saying to the scientists of Star Wars, get on it. There's probably a lot of stuff you can do with a Kyber crystal, besides just build super lasers and lightsabers.
Maybe the Jedi are, like, trying to hide them all because they don't want people to get a hold of them and for technology to go all haywire on the Kyber crystal.
I think you're onto something there, because, I mean, people consider Kyber crystals to be sacred, and so they probably don't want them used in other technology, and it's like, that's kind of why... They weren't doing anything like that until after the Jedi were gone. But Galen Erso was already doing studies into them during the Clone Wars. It's just, he didn't seem to get very far with it. And he was gone too soon. We need someone like Galen back to see if he can help the galaxy through the power of Kyber crystals.
Jordan Catley wants to know if we could see lightsaber changing colors depending on the user in canon stories.
Maybe. I mean, like, I think people will probably throw out red and white as, like, yes, they are Kyber crystals whose color is changed, but we're talking about, like, in The Ninth Jedi, where if you hand a blue lightsaber to someone else, it turns red or green or something like that. I'm open to the idea. I feel like, through the Force, all things are possible. So I think it could happen.
Hippie.
Yeah. I just think that it's unlikely. But I'd love to see it, because I loved that in The Ninth Jedi.
Yeah, this makes me think of when people were talking about how when Rey turns on her yellow lightsaber, for like a split second, it looked like maybe it could be different colors. Like when she flips the switch, it kind of like cycles through a couple of different colors and then comes out yellow. I like the idea of it being like one of those 4-color pens.
I was about to say the same thing, one of those clicky pens.
Oh, the clicky pens. You can just, like, pick your color on, according to, it's like a mood ring.
Right. I mean, that's basically what the lightsabers in The Ninth Jedi were.
Yeah.
And what they were throwing out as an idea in Return of the Jedi as well. I do feel like maybe if we go backwards from, like, the Clone Wars era, we look at the High Republic and we see that the Jedi are more flexible, there are more lightsaber colors, there's more variety. So maybe if we went back even further, that could continue to evolve in a way.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say the same thing, just like the way that the Jedi are more connected and the Force is more prevalent in the High Republic. If you go back even further than that, yeah, maybe the way that lightsabers worked was that they would change color just by being held by different kinds of people.
Okay, yeah, I think I said it was unlikely at the start. I still think it's unlikely, but I can see how it would work. And also, kind of the reason they abandoned that in Return of the Jedi, I think, was just that it would be too confusing for Vader to all of a sudden make Luke's lightsaber red. Now everyone knows what a lightsaber is. Like, there's no one in the world, I feel like, that has no idea what a lightsaber is. And so we're more familiar with the mechanics. So I think there's potential for them to kind of mess with it in that way now.
Jesse asks, which droid from Visions would we most want to see appear again?
I like 4-9s the most, I think.
That's what I was going to say. But I will also say the cranky droid.
So both the Ninth Jedi droids?
Yeah, the cranky one that takes her in its ship and is like drinking what looks like tea, but we talked about in our commentary might be like oil.
I'm going to assume it's oil, or the droid runs on steam. That's how old it is.
Yeah.
And you literally have to drink something hot for the steam to work.
Yeah. It did. I feel like it did have some steam coming off of it.
He was like shooting steam out of his face.
Yeah.
So, sure, steam-powered droid. Sure. That's just how ancient that droid was. Anything from like... I mean, I do want to see kind of a droid powered by a Kyber crystal. I think that's an interesting concept. I think to go back to more technology based around Kyber crystals, yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff to be explored there.
Or we get, what'd you call it? R2FU?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you put a red Kyber crystal, then you get the droid from the Duel that's just shooting rockets everywhere. Basically, BT-1 from the Dr. Aphra comics.
Mm-hmm.
But
give me that. Put him like regular R2 and then R2 packing together, and they would be unstoppable. Nick Canavan and Ice Phoenix 2 both want to know if the Visions label could be used for any non-canon and non-Legends story in the future, or will it only be for this project?
I think right now it's kind of up in the air. I think if we see a season 2 of Visions, it's probably going to be anime again. I think that that's probably what their intention is. But if there's not a second season planned, then I don't know, maybe. I mean, they slapped the Visions label on Ronin, the book. So there is a bit of that, but obviously it's tied directly to the anime story.
Mm-hmm.
I think for now it's probably just going to be anime, but maybe down the line there could be some things where it's like, yeah, Visions is just a fully outside of canon thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you said that it was on the book, that made me kind of think maybe we could see it pop up more, but I think it's going to be attached to these specific projects and like the studios that worked on them.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get any kind of spin-off for the Ninth Jedi, they'll put Visions on that, but I don't think they'll expand anything and call it Visions : blah, blah, blah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, because back in the day, there were kind of outside of continuity stories that they would do every once in a while. They called them Infinities. I think there was a comic called Visions at one point that was just a few, like a collection of stories of people doing random stuff. And that was like the first exploration of what if Darth Maul survived and tried to hunt down Obi-Wan and had these crazy mechanical legs. Like that all came from that comic. I'll find the cover, but it might have been called Visions. So, you know, there's room for either way right now because there's only been one Visions project. I think we need to see the next Visions project to know for sure.
Ryan Hammond asks, which short from Visions do we think will stand the test of time?
I think this is totally subjective because everyone kind of had their own favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the obvious one is going to be the Duel because it's the only one with content still yet to come. Like the book is coming out for that, which is expanding that story even further. So it's going to be relevant for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's maybe one of the most iconic ones of the bunch. It just has a very striking look. But, you know, my bias leans towards I want the Ninth Jedi to stand the test of time and for people to really remember that one. But I know a lot of people love The Village Bride, and I think there's an argument to be made for every single one of them. So this is me just dodging the question and saying, like, I kind of hope they all do in some way. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can kind of, like, pick out things for each one and say that this one's notable for this, and, like, the twins one is just notable for being just, like, really loud and big and kind of larger than life. So I think they all have little quirks that will keep them going, hopefully.
Yeah. I personally think the ones with the best stories will stand the test of time. I liked the twins, but I felt the story was a little surface level. It was more about the visuals, which looked great and were good enough for me to be like, I liked that. But to me, I don't see that one standing the test of time, so to speak, as much.
That's it for our patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon, where we leave every submitted question a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. We have tons of other rewards like audio commentaries for the films and every new Star Wars series premiering on Disney+. We also record video reactions to every new series as we watch them for the first time. We're doing book clubs to discuss every new Star Wars book as they release. We have behind-the-scenes content, comic reactions every Wednesday, and more. All of that is available right now on our Patreon if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Hans Mork Tophole asks if Tarkin really believed in the Empire's ideology, or was he just in it for the power?
I think it can be both, but I do think that he really believed in what the Empire was doing, ruling through fear. If you read the Tarkin book or any comic about him, that's how he rolls.
Yeah, he was kind of always like that before the Empire was a thing. Like, we saw it a little bit in the Clone Wars, and you see kind of like how Tarkin and Anakin have some similar ideas as far as how like people should lead, and that's a really interesting that pops up in the Clone Wars. And yeah, I think he's just that kind of person, and he instills a lot of his own ideals in like how they are running the Empire.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Empire was based on his own doctrine, so he kind of had to believe in the Empire's
He's like, this is my baby.
Yeah. The Empire's ideals were his ideals.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Skoll wants to know how we'd want to see Kyle Katarn brought back into canon if that ever happens.
I'm not expecting Kyle to come back. I feel like a lot of his story has been split up amongst other existing characters now, but if he came back, I would still love to see him. I'd like to see it in like a Dark Forces reboot. Just, you know, he originated in a game, let's put him in another game and have fun with it. Like, I think I'd maybe prefer him just stay a mercenary and not go the Jedi route, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see this happening. If he is ever brought back into canon, or brought into canon, I should say, like, I don't think it should be like a main character status thing. It'd be kind of cool if he popped up in something like The Mandalorian, but like, then that poses the problem of like, oh, people will be disappointed that he's not the main character of whatever story it is that he comes into. But yeah, with him turning into a Jedi, basically, I don't think that has a place in canon right now.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue, is that I feel like a lot of the things that make Kyle Katarn aren't going to translate into the new canon very well. Like, that I always go to Thrawn and I'm like, yeah, they really nailed that, because they took what made him a compelling character, moved it in the timeline, but he was still Thrawn. And I'm like, can they do that with Kyle? They took a lot of stuff from him already.
Although I do kind of want anyone to be named Kyle in like a live action show. Just Kyle. Asher asks if Keeve Trenis is going to join the Nile.
Funny you should ask. If you haven't been keeping up with the comics, in the 9th issue that just came out last month now, yeah, she is part of the Nile now. She's undercover. And we also know it's very likely she's going to be a member of the Lost 20 eventually. She'll be a master and then she'll leave the Jedi Order. So I don't think that the Nile at this point are going to be the thing that makes her not fall to the dark side, leave the Jedi Order. But I don't think it's going to help.
Yeah, I don't think she's there to join them, or I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, it's been like, in the comic, it's very clear she's undercover. She's not there to join. She's there to get information.
Yeah.
But, you know, undercover stories never really go well. I'm thinking of like The Departed, or just anytime you have to live that lie, you know, part of the enemy creeps in, you get sympathy for them. So I'm definitely worried for what she's about to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's going to go more towards her just leaving the Jedi Order and not her leaving to then join another group.
Yeah.
So
I think she's still got a big journey ahead of her, because to be a member of the Lost 20, you have to be a master. She has just been promoted to knight, so I think the High Republic is going to cover a good deal of time over the course of the end of Phase 1 and then the next 2 phases.
Martin Stallard wants to know if we'll ever see the incident that happened between Han and Lando.
This is one of those things where I think that we have already seen it, but maybe we haven't. Because if you look in Legends, they kept doing stories with Han and Lando. So, like, they met, and then every time they parted ways, they didn't know whether or not this was going to be the last time they saw each other or not. So Han would do something terrible to Lando. And then someone else would write a book and be like, I want Han and Lando in this. And so Lando has to kind of like get over what happened last time and be like, no, okay, we can work together. I trust you. And at the end, Han does something terrible to Lando. And it just keeps on happening. So it's possible that him taking the Falcon from Lando at the end of Solo, that could be the thing that he's mad about. Or we'll get some more stories with them and we'll see Han do something else to him. And it just keeps escalating.
Yeah, I think it's not one exact moment or event. I think it's just like their relationship in general and the fact that they butt heads so badly. That's just every time they see each other again, it's like, okay, here we go. Oh boy.
It's also, you know, in Empire, like the whole thing is supposed to be jokey. Like you've got a lot of guts coming back here after what you pulled, and then like the fake fight and just a hug. And Han seems confused by it. Like he's either going like, what did I do? Or like, which time in his head. It could go either way. Like we might never see an incident. That might just be Lando messing around and, you know, going over the top. Because the Empire is there and he's trying to convince Han he's on the level. But I don't know, I'm always entertained by that Legends aspect where it's like, Lando, stop trusting Han.
Maybe we could get something like this in the Lando series.
Every episode, he meets up with Han, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Declan Gallagher asks if we'll see the Jedi Temple and its guards in flashbacks for Kenobi.
I'm going to guess no. I mean, I'm all for Clone Wars flashbacks. That's kind of been a rumor for a while. But I don't want it to be all flashback, you know?
Yeah. It's possible, but I don't think we're going to see a ton in flashbacks other than, like, him and Anakin and, like, conversations that they had.
I think the story is going to be very much about them and their relationship, so we might get even more insight into their time during the Clone Wars. We get to see clone, like, Jedi armor in live action, which would be awesome. They could very easily place one of those scenes. It could be a walk and talk in the Jedi Temple, and then, yeah, we see the guards, but, like, I don't know. I just don't think that's going to be a focus of any scene. Mm-hmm. The focus should be Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it could be just like a backdrop. They happen to be there, but yeah, I don't see any like big scenes being filmed there.
It's more me, you know, not getting my hopes up, so that if it happens, I'll be like, oh, Jedi Temple Guard, awesome, live action, wee! Instead of me expecting it, and then when it doesn't happen, being upset about it. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.